Welcome to the GSL Code A. I'm Wolf, and of course Caldor is joining me today as well as normal. Here are our matches today. We're going to have Epixo Tree versus Killer, Oz versus JKS, a former team kill, Vines against Zenix Life, Virus against Shine, and got a pretty sick lineup of matches today, I would say, for our morning session.
Yeah, especially the game between Virus and Shine should be a good one. Of course, we also have Oz, who just dropped down from Code SES to face a former Code B player. And a really nice lineup today. Maybe a little bit short on the Terran side. Only Virus is playing here. But basically, what we have is... I don't think we have a... Oh, we have one mirror match. The first one is going to be a mirror, exactly. Yep. Yeah, Tree against Killer, both of them from the up and downs.
Yeah, Tree been showing some pretty exciting games recently. He's been someone that, before he even joined Epix Open, a lot of Koreans were talking about, used to play for MVP, and before that, I think maybe NSP or something. He was always kind of around, and actually, no, now I think about it, he was on FOU, and then he was on MVP, and then came back to rejoin with Epix Open, if I remember his team history correctly. But Killer is someone who's much more known, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do today in this PvP. He seems to be kind of back on the right track. He was kind of in a slump for a while, but I think he's back. He showed some really good PvZ play in the up and down matches, and I think that if he advances here and faces any Zergs, we're going to see it again.
Alright, but let's be honest about it. The one matchup where he always struggled like crazy was actually PvP.
That's true. So I guess we're gonna find out.
I always thought that Tree was Terran though, and he's Terran now in the lobby as well. Do we have a mistake on the sheet? Yeah, we do, don't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that weirded me out a little bit because I watched a couple of Tree's games in all of the Code A qualifiers that we had, and yeah, he's a Terran player. So.
I was like, am I mistaking this too? I was like, I guess I'm wrong. I guess he's Protoss, but I had more faith in the sheet than you did, but it turns out that you're right.
You have to have faith in yourself, Wolf.
I do. I need to. All right, we're going to jump into the game right now, so don't go anywhere. Seriously. There it is.
Most awkward transition ever. Well, guys, here we go to the bottom left of our first map. It is Cloud Kingdom. We have our Terran player in the red color, starting for the AFXO team. This is... Oh, we did.
FXO Tree.
The production is trying to attempt the Street Fighter voice and completely failing. It was like a whisper in my ear. It was really nice. Yeah, I forgot for a second that we don't have the Street Fighter voice for the first round. To the top right, we have our Protoss player. This is Complexity Killer. I tried.
Yeah, that was pretty good. You know, I found myself wondering this the other day when you and I were casting together. Why is it called the Street Fighter voice? Because it's like, this is StarCraft. And the Street Fighter voice doesn't even quite sound like that, but everybody calls it the Street Fighter voice. Was that Doa? Did he start that?
He might have started it, I don't know, but basically it's just exactly how it is.
Yeah, it has to be, I mean, how it is. Fight!
Exactly.
I guess that's just how it's going to be forever now, but I just thought that was a little bit strange.
I like it.
I like it too, you know, in retrospect. It has a name. It's not just that player name. It's the Street Fighter voice.
It's like the Street Fighter theme. It goes with everything. And the same is true for the Street Fighter voice, I guess.
Did you happen to catch any of EVO, by the way?
I watched, like, I think a game or two.
I didn't watch that much, but what I did watch was really exciting. It's cool to see that tournament. Doing well. Seemed pretty awesome. A lot of people really into that. Chrono Boost on the Zealot, by the way, from Killer. Going to punish any sort of really greedy expansion, force some micro and some SCV pulls. Very difficult to deal with. You know, at the pro level, they make it look easy to defend that Zealot pressure, but actually it's not. He's making a second Zealot, of course, because he got his core late. And, you know, some people would skip the Zealot, the second one, to get a faster Nexus, but that's not something that Killer wants to do here. He really wants to put the pressure on. And this is going to be something that's difficult to defend. Once you have 3 Marines, you can basically do whatever you want against Zealots. But he is going to have to micro.
Yeah, at the same time, we have the one barracks in to expand for Tree. Nothing out of the ordinary here. Tree was one of the players who always did good in the Code A qualifiers and was finally then able to get into Code A came from the up and downs this season and is now facing Killer. The Zealot with a little bit of pressure, and he has the third Marine already, even pulling one of the SCVs to be super safe against it.
Yeah. And you guys can just see how difficult it was to micro there with just the two, but as soon as he had the third, the Zealot turned around right away. And if he went for a command center first, he would have really struggled to defend that. He would have likely lost some hit points on the command center. SCVs would have been pulled. He may have even lost some if he didn't micro perfectly. And wow, look at this tree actually making a third command center in his main base as the second gas for Killer is taken. So this is a pretty risky build by a tree. You can really struggle to hold off fast warp gate timings off the 2 base. The fast 6 gate or even 7 gateway push is really tough against this.
He's trying to cut a few corners here to get a better economy than his opponent. With Killer halfway done, or more than halfway done with his Nexus at this point, he's already in a pretty good spot. Will probably follow it up very, very soon with the robotics. He needs that to be sure that he's not running into any kind of cloak Banshee play. And of course he also wants to know what exactly is going on in his opponent's main base. But first of all, he's throwing down 2 additional warp gates so that he has at least a bit of warp gate production against early pressure. And then as the next structure, we should see the robotics.
You know, you're right, because the pressure can come out very early with a 1 barracks expand. A lot of people, especially in Korea recently, have been going 1 barracks expand into 3 barracks, but even more dangerously, going into 5 barracks is still a very viable strategy that you can put a lot of pressure on with. And if you go for a Robo before the 2 gates, then you don't really have anything. Your observer flies across the map and sees that you're in a lot of trouble. And so this build, I think, is safer against the 1 barracks expand, especially he saw the command center. He knows, okay, you're not doing a fast cloak build. I don't need that robotics right away. You might be going into factory from here, but I can still hit this robotics timing right when he's doing it right now, about 6 minutes and 30 seconds. And I like this choice better.
This is also something that we've seen a lot in the past few weeks, that Terrans just try to hit some earlier timings where they only rely on a few Marines, maybe even bungle up with a couple of Marauders. Don't wait for the medivacs, but just try to go in and do some damage, maybe sneak a few of those Marines into the opponent's economy line, because back home you're kind of safe as soon as you have the first bunker, and even if there are only 1 or 2 Marines in there, that is usually enough to just force the Protoss back. Trying to catch a few of these Stalkers out of position, but Killer is paying attention to the minimap, realizes exactly what's going on and pulls them back.
Yeah, that was actually really nice reaction time by both players, pulling the weakened Marine back, and the Stalker was microed well also. Stim is halfway done. He got that immediately upon getting that tech lab out. He's making an eBay. With the factory timing here, we could see some medevac pressure. This is something that we absolutely will likely see. It's not going to be the same timing with +1, not necessarily because his medevacs are going to be out a little bit faster. And in fact, with all of these trying to tech 2 right now, off of just the 2 gas, and he's taking his third, he's going to have basically... He's spending all of his gas too quickly. He's trying to get combat shields and stim at the same time as adding Marauders while he gets a starport and the reactor for that. And +1 is going to come out, but it's not going to be as fast as he would normally want it.
Killer is currently not producing any probes. He cut the probe production here at 47. He's facing 40 SCVs and of course the 3 mules. Now just started to add additional probes again. So apparently a little bit slacking off here with his micromanagement.
Yeah, this happens sometimes when you want to get that tech out a little bit faster. You cut pros for just a second so you can get that 100 minerals that you're not spending on 2 next side to get your robotics support bay a little bit faster. It's probably what we saw here. He may have made a mistake with his macro as well, but good to see that he's restarted that pro production. He's got double forges going. He's going to be going for the late game here, but he's not taking a risky third. He wants to use his observer, which did fly into the main base right now. Now that he sees a third command center of his opponent, he's probably going to really want to hit a small timing with his Colossi to deny his opponent landing. Nice scan there, takes out the observer.
He's getting all these upgrades now, and he's using all of his chrono boosts, which is really nice to observe, because that's one of the things that we've criticized in the past, where a lot of Protoss players struggle a little bit in the mid and late game, that they didn't use the energy on those next side. But Killer is just using 1 chrono boost after another, making sure that he gets those upgrades as fast as possible, and therefore also taking a small lead over the Terran player, which is going to be really important to hold off pushes like the one that Tree is starting to, to throw against him right now.
Yeah, see, now the third base is going up for Killer, and like you said, the upgrade advantage is going to be here for Killer very soon, as he is chrono boosting those upgrades. It's going to be 1-1 versus +1. And notice that even though his +1 is a little bit late, he will have it very soon here, but he's going to attack before it's ready, which is a little bit scary. But if he waits for it to finish, then it's going to be 1-1 against +1, so He sees the Colossi now. This will allow him to start Viking production, which he's already doing.
Great position here with the probe for Killer. He knows exactly what he has to pay attention to. He knows about his opponent's movements. There are a few scans in order to make sure that if he can pick off observers, that he knows exactly about the positioning of his opponent's army. So really well done by Tree as well. And he's sneaking in with one of those medivacs while the rest of the army is aiming straight for the third base.
Yeah, this is really great multitasking from Tree. He's forcing the units into several directions and forces a warping of Zealots on this side. And yeah, he doesn't really get anything, he doesn't lose anything either, so I like this. And he's got the third command center up and running. He's built his SCV account up quite heavily. Even with Chrono Boost on the probes, it's 58 SCVs to 59 probes right now. That's with 3 mules being dropped, so the economy of the Terran is absolutely great right now. The one thing he's going to find himself lacking in a little bit is the upgrades. And the tech switch as well is something that's going to be scary for him.
That's actually really a job well done by Tree, who got this early command center that we talked about a little bit, and there are only nice picks of an observer here. He only had a few times when he actually did not produce SCVs, so right now he is on 3 bases, he has the 3 mules, he had the capacity to build 3 SCVs at a time for quite a long time right now, but he's definitely in a bit of a problem when it comes down to the upgrades, as we mentioned earlier. With Killer Chrono boosting +2/+2 right now, going for charge as well, he's in a decent position regarding the strength of his units. He does not have the same supply as his opponent, but this is definitely something that he can bank on later on. Here comes a nice run by Tree, though, trying to go up that ramp. There are a few stalkers left. He warps in immediately a bunch of new Zealots and tries to charge these Marines and Marauders down. Well defended by Killer here, but there's another attack headed straight for his third base, trying to snipe the Nexus.
Yeah, he's targeting it, and I think it's going to fall if he wants to commit these units. It absolutely will. Oh, he decides not to commit, though, and picks up. So he loses some units and doesn't get the Nexus. A great defense by Killer, and he is going to feel really comfortable with this. He will have to defend in his main, though. The drop is heading there right away. Actually, he stopped.
A big problem for him is that his Nexus is already down to only like 200 hit points, and this is definitely not something that you want, that you're happy with, because right now there's always the danger of Tree just sending in another force and taking down the Nexus entirely. And especially this dropship that he did not send to the main base could also do the trick. It stands to reason that he's going to try to take it on very soon. There it is. Moves in. We don't have it on screen, but the army of Killer is in position. He knows exactly that he has to defend this Nexus, that this is the point where he's most vulnerable right now.
Yep, and look at this, even warping in Stalkers to defend the drop in his main. Oh, he may take it out. So close there.
Really close.
And, you know, Killer, I love this position for him because he knows his upgrades are spinning. He's got all the army in the world he needs to defend. Why attack? Just hold this Nexus. This is something that, in a sense, Tree has accomplished in that he forces the army to be near the Nexus, but he hasn't taken a risky fourth. He's just now making the 4th command center because he's also switching his tech because of the obvious Templar switch that's going to occur. He's making Ghosts right now. He's still continuing to ship weapons. He's trying to do everything at once, but the position here for Killer is quite nice.
Oh, nice position here, though, for the Vikings, trying to take down one of those Colossi early on. Not able to do so, but this is just Tree's style right now. He's trying to hit and run every single time, trying to hit the third, trying to hit the natural, do some damage to the left or to the right, always going for some kind of attack that will put his opponent in a position where he has to move his army again and where he might neglect his defense on the other side of the map. So really well done so far by Tree. Killer, though, now taking the supply lead, and he is definitely ahead in upgrades as well. +2/+2 is finished for the Protoss player, and he is going straight for the last set of upgrades.
Yeah, and he is going to look quite fierce with those upgrades. He's got Storm on the way. He's making another Colossus, though. So his Colossus count will actually go up to 5 with this one. He's just got this really scary, so-called death ball that he's kind of marching around the map with. He's not attacking his opponent. He's aggressively forcing Nexi down. He's dropping a Nexus at his 4th, and he's just keeping his army there, babysitting it so that he can have it no matter what. But the problem for him, I feel, is that eventually Tree is going to max out, and he's going to have all the upgrades too, and it's going to come down to who can micro the best, who spends their bank, who prepares those production facilities for remaxing better than their opponent, because we're not going to have a battle that occurs with one player having better upgrades than the other, most likely because both players are hesitating to attack, to do that big engagement.
And especially the Ghosts and the High Templars later on, they will be the key unit in this engagement. Of course, those Vikings and the Colossi will also fight their own battle, but at the same time, will the Ghosts be able to snipe the High Templars or at least use the EMP? Will we have feedback before that and a bunch of storms? This Terran army has a lot of DPS, but at the same time, if you hit it with Colossi and Storms, then the hit points just, they're gone. They're just gone within seconds. So that is definitely something that Tree has to achieve. He has to make sure that those High Templar are not posing a problem to him.
Yep, there are only 5 medevacs out right now. One of them very badly injured. Well, we may have a fight right now, and the upgrade advantage definitely in Killer's favor, actually. He's forcing this engagement now, something he has not done all game. The Ghosts do cloak, but the Vikings are forced back. There's so many units here. Nice kiting by Tree, getting the best he can out of those Vikings, but he has lost so much supply already.
Yeah, he's forced back by Killer now. Killer has him on the run, and Tree trying to reinforce with a few more Marines and Marauders, but this army by Killer is really fearsome. At the same time, those Vikings doing a great job at the Colossi. 2 of them are already dead, only 1 is remaining, and he can retreat into the safety range of this planetary fortress, but Killer has done a lot of damage here. In the end, though, Tree did not lose his entire army, and the most important thing, he did not lose his Vikings. He still has something against his opponent's Colossi, and Killer is still producing Colossi. He's even adding a second Robo right now.
Yeah, he really is. He has the Storm research, but he's not using it just yet. He saw all those Ghosts. He saw his opponent cloak his Ghosts, so he's just waiting on his Templar switch right now. He's added, you know, of course, an Archon in the mix, and it looks like actually he has a total of 2 Templar with 7. Okay, now he's warping in 7. He's prepared to make this switch. I don't think he's going to make any of those into Archons, not until they use their Storm energy. He's taking the top left base, which would be risky if he didn't have this dominant army on the map, but because he has this, it's kind of hard for Tree to commit to moving a big army over there to attack that.
Tree is now going for nukes as well. He wants to make sure that with a few Ghosts he can either put his opponent out of position or at least try to take down a few of those probes and hurt the economy of Killer. He's on 4 bases, and with the sensor tower that he has at the 3rd, he is definitely in a position where he can spot potential run-bys and movements by Killer. The position for the sensor tower is not the best. I think it would have been better if he would have built 2, 1 to the left and 1 to the right, but at least he knows what's going on in the middle of the map. That's already very important so that he can anticipate when exactly Killer is going to attack his 4th or his natural. But at the same time, he's just trying to catch up in upgrades. Doing a good job here, but still, he has to be very, very careful how he's going to approach this. He's behind in supply, he's a bit behind in upgrades, and has to... Storm drops. Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to see. And Killer he will lose a lot of SCVs here.
Killer is actually really good at doing Storm drops. He's one of the only Zergs, I mean, our process are doing. Ace does it sometimes as well, but Killer, man, he's a killer right now. He scans, he's like, well, is it still there? Yeah, it's still there, but it's running away. He will not be able to get it with the Vikings. It did research speed for that Warp Prism. So if he tries to commit Vikings to chasing this, it's going to be a little bit risky. Especially considering that he can just drop out the Templar and storm the Vikings. Killer maintaining a supply lead here, but one wrong engagement can turn the tides here as both players are even on upgrades. Killer does have +1 shields. It's arguable as to whether or not that means he's ahead in upgrades because his shields, without having any upgrades on them, are not actually applied. So like half of his hit points only has +3 armor. So that's kind of like something that people don't talk about enough. You know, I guess you could say that the Protoss units do generally have a ton of hit points even after their shields are gone. So it's hard to say if even upgrades is really 3-3 or if the Protoss has to have 3-3-3 to have even upgrades.
Nah. No.
I mean, I see that, like, with how strong Protoss units are already, it feels pretty even at 3-3. But, you know, if they have +3 shields, they're even stronger.
Yeah, and that's what he's aiming for right now. The first shield upgrade is already done. That, of course, helps him also because the shields regenerate. And we have double expansion now for Tree. Tree is trying to get additional bases and especially additional orbital commands because the later in the game that you actually get, the more you want to replace your SCVs with mules and so that you can build more army supply. A small army, well, a small bunch of units in the middle of the map has been caught out of position by Killer. Takes them down, but he's approaching this really cautious. He's just trying to get a few more observers into the game so that he can actually check out what exactly is going on. But now the Vikings with a nice flank here. This is actually a good position for Tree. This is a great position for him. He's getting a shot at all these very, very expensive units. He's taking down a few of the sentries, takes down Colossi as well.
And there's a nuke at the fourth base rather. The probes get out just in time.
Wow, nice reaction here by Killer, but the fight is not over. In the middle of the map, another Colossi dies, and Colossi number 4 is gone as well. Very well done by Tree here.
Yep. This is actually a really good engagement. You said it best when you said the positioning of the Vikings and the entire engagement was just in his favor. The army of Killer was going on the left side where there weren't very many units to attack, so Tree had the position on the high ground, plus his Vikings were taking free shots on the Colossi. Such a great engagement, but the pull from Killer was nice. He saved all of his probes. The Ghost got no kills. And
just imagine if that nuke goes off and takes down every single probe at this 4th base, then suddenly he's in an even worse position. As it is, he already lost most of his sentries. He lost... Well, the sentries are not that important in the late game anymore, but still losing them is definitely a big hit to his army. Also, those Colossi, all of them just died. And this flank was just beautiful, executed by Tree.
And Tree's getting some High Templar here. He lost some Ghosts in the process, but it's very important that he took out those High Templar, as now the warping in ones don't have as much energy, but the few of them do have energy for storms. He's going to have to pull back here. Yeah, Killer has way too much.
He has a huge bank as well. He can reinforce his army once again, and here come the EMPs, but he is immediately morphing a few Archons, is chasing down his opponent, and Tree is once again on the run with Killer chasing after him. 200 supply for the Protoss player. The Complexity player in a great position here. Takes down the Vikings, loses 2 of the Colossi, but that's all that's to it. Suddenly, Tree is down to 90 supply and has to GG in game number 1.
Yeah, really well played by our Protoss. I feel like Tree had a few shortcomings. His micro and his positioning were really good, but he did not add as many production facilities as he needed. He always had a larger bank than he should have, and Killer just had the early upgrade lead, and he used it to control the map, and that's something that is really difficult to deal with as a Terran. But Tree looked strong in the game overall, and I think he definitely still can take this series, but Killer, he really looked dominant in game 1.
There were a couple of decisions that Tree made that in hindsight you could say were mistakes. For example, not committing to the snipe at the 3rd base. That might have put him a little bit behind. If he sacrifices a few of those units, takes down the 3rd and gets out with the rest of them, then maybe he will be in a position where he can get the edge over his Protoss opponent. But that's easier said than done. In the heat of the battle, you have to make a decision, and Tree decided to get the units out of there, but not taking down the Nexus. What he was hoping for was definitely to come back with a drop later on and snipe the Nexus. But as it turned out, it was a wrong decision. Killer was able to save the 3rd, and from that point on, he just secured himself a 4th base, always put some pressure onto Tree. Really nice game on Cloud Kingdom. Next map, though, is going to be Metropolis.
It will indeed, and the countdown is starting. We'll see if Killer is going to close this one out 2-0. Tree has got a tough fight ahead of him, but this is a good map for Terran versus Protoss. He absolutely can come back in this series. The map is loading now. And this is not my normal intro, because we don't have flashing lights and a flying camera, but we'll be in the game momentarily. In fact, I think we're going to be in the game right now.